Well, good day people, welcome to a new video, and today we are I'm making a new brawler concept. Well, I've already made it, but like, I'm just sharing it out there. Anyway, this brawler is a bit of an interesting brawler, new mechanics, new like effect, I guess, brawler effect. There's obviously good, bad, and ugly in this design, so any time wasting, let's just straight up go for the ugly design. Okay, the new brawler's name is Victor, and yes, it wasn't my best work, obviously, but yeah, it is bad, ugly. It is very pixelated too, because I did it in 3D Paint, and just did it with like Microsoft, but yeah, it is very bad. But that's the ugly side of the design today. So you probably won't see anything worse, except for like if you see the brawler again as an image or like as a profile picture and that. So that's the only time you're going to see that brawler. Anyway, his name is Victor, and let me introduce you to him. Okay, Victor is a theater. He runs the theater, runs the shows, does everything himself. He doesn't work well with people. And it is seen that within his personality, as well as he has got a very black and white sort of point of view with things as well. We can see it in his face. Though he thinks he is a good actor, he is just awful, and no one ever attends his shows because he's just awful acting and performing. Though he likes to give people a lot of trash talk for their bad acting, even though he's just... Which, hence the reason why he has no people in the audience, and his primary use of weapon is chairs that people don't sit on. Anyway, okay, that's enough said about him. I'll talk about his design a bit, actually. He's got a little Star Park badge, I guess, because he works at the Star Park. He's got gloves that looks like Thanos. I mean, the whole thing's a bad design, to be honest. The mask is like a drummer theater mask right there. You got shoes that just look terrible as well. Yeah, this was very rushed, and I just couldn't think of anything to really design of this, but yeah. Anyway, that's Victor's design. Let's go to his, well, say his stats and his mechanics. This is going to be a lot to take in. There is a new mechanic in this thing, or a few new mechanics, like including, well, this thing's blocking the way. It would say new flattened mechanic, and obviously a new sort of attack style. It does look very similar to Melody, and I will explain that in a second. But let's go over his stats. So his stats is... His health having about an average amount of health, 7,200 with an average amount of speed. He has a decent reload speed. Well, actually, he has a very fast reload speed, I would have to note. And he's got a decent amount of range. He is a damage dealer class, though I think most of his abilities are more of like a control base. And he doesn't really counter tanks. He counters more of the mid-range brawlers rather than like you typically see as a tank counter. He does, as you can see below here, he does output a lot of damage, but I'll talk about the actual attack now. So the main attack, his first attack, his main attack, exactly, being musical chairs. He's got two types of attacks here. When he auto-aims his attack, he will summon a musical chair, which is this thing right here, and it will rotate, just like a Melody note, exactly like Melody's note, really. And he will summon one of those. If an enemy hits one of those chairs, it will destroy the chair, dealing also 1200 damage, which isn't very much. However, if you were to manually aim, Victor launches all summoned chairs in the aimed direction. So what this means is that if he has like 3 chairs out, and he decides to mainly aim, he will throw all 3 of those chairs at that one area, but in like a reverse cone sort of pattern. So if you're close, you're probably going to get hit by less. However, if you're further away, you're probably going to get hit on point with all 3 of those projectiles. However, it is very much harder to hit that because of how narrow the attack is compared to where he is. And also it also depends on how many chairs you actually throw out, because the number of chairs that you have that's rotating the route is the amount of chairs you're going to throw out. So, and the chairs do double in damage with the regular one. So this will do 2,400 damage for each chair that you throw. However, it will only do a 1,200 damage for the ones that are rotating around him. His range is quite long at an 8 tiles range, and his rotating range is about 2 tiles, which is a bit low. His projectile speed is relatively fast, and the projectile speed of the rotate is the same as Melody's, for reference. And let's go, his reload speed is incredibly fast. Mainly because, his reload being incredibly fast is 0.8 seconds. For reference, that's the same as El Primo. So that's an incredibly fast reload speed. But there is a catch with him. He does have a sort of slow unload speed when he launches out the chairs. And the cooldown between his attacks is about the same as a Shally, if you can take that as reference. But to launch 3 chairs, if he wants to, he has to summon 3 chairs around him to be able to launch those 3 chairs. He can't summon those 3 chairs if there's no chairs around him. So he has to auto-aim 3 attacks first, which will rotate these chairs around him. And then he can mainly aim with this. But you can mainly aim with 2 chairs or even with 1 chair. But as long as there is a chair rotating around him, he's allowed to mainly aim. The manual aim has got a delay unload, which is very similar to Ash. So it's not only harder to hit at a longer distance, it's going to take a lot more prediction. And it is highly rewarded because the amount of damage you output can one-shot basically half the brawlers in the game. And then we'll go over the supercharge rate. So his supercharge rate is about 10%, which is exactly for 10% for the rotating, for the chairs that are rotating around him, if they hit an enemy. And then his supercharge for the launch attack, which is be 20%, that's double than 10 since it does double the damage. And then we'll recharge from the super is 15%, and I'll explain the super next. So that's basically, that's it for the main attack. Let's go over to the super. For his super is called Setting the Stage. Victor sets the stage by moving walls anywhere he desires. Enemies hit by those falling walls will take a lot of damage and will be flattened for a period of time. This is that new sort of effect that I've been talking about before. Anyway, so he gets flattened for a period of time. Let's go over the super first, and then we'll go over the flattened mechanic. So his super is obviously very long. It does a lot of damage. The damage is from if you drop it on top of if you drop the wall on top of the enemy. So let's go over the super here. Okay, so where's the super? How it works basically is you mainly aim the super and hover it over a wall, and it has a lift charge. So the lift charge will charge when you hover it over a wall for a period of time. When it is lifted, you've got 3 seconds of lift duration, so you can move the wall wherever you want in some sort of way. You can't rotate the walls. Just to be in mind, you can't rotate them, so they'll always stay in the same position. And you can't move. You can't just instant move them too. It's got a drag speed, and obviously it has a certain area, which I've said here, 5x5 area. So that's the maximum. So the maximum amount of walls you're able to move is 25. The drag speed, what that means, that is when you lift the wall, your movement of the aim is restricted to that speed. So that means you can't just instant, go straight that way. It's got to be a slow sort of that way. And that's because that would just be too broken if I didn't put that rule into it. So now we'll go over, so we've talked about the lift duration, that is 3 seconds. We've talked about his lift charge, so you have to hold that position for 0.5 seconds for it to pick up the walls. It cannot pick up brawlers, by the way. That's what his gadget does, which I will talk in a second. His release charge though is it kind of acts as a unload speeds, but it releases in 0.5 seconds. So as you release your super, like a throw attack, you know how your super sort of fires as you release a throw attack. It's the same sort of thing with this, but it will have a release speed of 0.5 seconds delay, so then enemies can escape it at least. because if you do unfortunately get hit by it, it is basically critical damage. You're doing 4,000 damage, which is basically the same as like a tick mine or a dynamite super, and then you get flattened for the 3 seconds, like I said before. Now let's talk over the flattened mechanic. The flattened mechanic is when, and it's okay, let's talk about it. You only get flattened if you, how you get flattened is if a wall of the super drops on top of you, you'll become flattened. The flattened effect. When enemy is flattened, it will remove all status buffs, damage reductions, shields, ammos, and items. Example, gems, power cubes, and brawl ball. It also has a stun duration on top of it. So the stun duration is technically like an animation duration. You could actually just look at this mechanic as basically the exact same as like Mario Kart when you get run over by like a mega mushroom or something like that. It's exactly the same sort of mechanic. Next thing that happens is that your reload speed is decreased by 75%. That is 10. That's like as in decrease reload speed. I mean, it means like extending the reload speed by 4 times. So it means it takes 4 times longer to reload. As well as your speed decrease being 350. This is exactly the same for reference as B super or like M's super, Spark super without the mythic gear. So this is what this effect does. It is pretty strong and can be lethal. Well, I mean, it's 100% going to be lethal if it lands on someone because it does like 4k damage on top of all that. But now we've talked about basically all the stats on this brawler. Let's talk about his build. So his first gadget. And his first gadget, after you went past this hideous profile thing, first gadget is called Rising Up. For the next 2 seconds, Victor lifts up the walls and enemy brawlers close to him. So obviously, as in like close to him, I mean like as in like a radius, like the chairs, basically the same radius as that, 2 tiles. This, you could actually just take this as a reference. It's exactly kind of like El Primo's suplex gadget, but instead you also lift walls as well. You don't throw them, but you just lift them up for 2 seconds. And brawlers are not able to do anything while they're lifted up for 2 seconds. If the walls are lifted up, you're able to shoot under the walls, and the enemy brawlers are also able to shoot under the walls. This could be good for confirming kills or helping a teammate. However, the walls can drop back down, and if it drops on the brawler, the same effect will happen. You'll be flattened, but I don't think you would take damage because that would just be broken in certain situations. This gadget has a cooldown of 15 seconds, by the way, so it's an average gadget. However, this next one is pretty broken. Yeah, I think. Anyway, the next gadget is called Foreshadowing. Victor will be immune to all damage for the next 3 seconds. However, when those seconds are up, he will receive 50% damage accumulated over time. So, what that means is, if I was to have, I guess like, if I activated the shield and got hit by like a heap of damage, at the end of that 3 seconds, I'll take half the amount of damage I've been hit by while the shield is up. This is probably best used at when he has full health. If he has low health, he's just gonna die afterwards. There's no point, he will just die afterwards. I can see this being potentially really strong at like maybe a 1v1 sort of scenario, but yeah, it could be like an end game sort of move, or like if you're a knockout, it can allow you to last an extra 3 seconds longer. It tanks so much damage too. 50% is like a double amount of health for reference. So that's basically like being as tanky as Frank. So that's like trying to burst down a Frank in 3 seconds. Most brawlers are able to do that pretty easily, so by themselves. So this one is potentially strong. Probably OP. I probably should have like maybe nerfed it to 75% damage. But anyway, the cooldown, however, I've made it so it's a bit balanced. The cooldown is now 20 seconds. I was going to put it lower, but I've decided to put a cooldown of 20 seconds on there because of how... Okay, the very next thing is we've got star power. So the first star power is called Tough Crowd. If a rotating chair is destroyed, it will grant the victor a 25% damage reduction for 2 seconds. I'm pretty sure I mentioned how the chairs get destroyed. So the chairs get destroyed if it hits an enemy brawler. Well, no, a rotating chair, I mean. So if a rotating chair can get destroyed if an enemy brawler runs into it. So it's kind of like a single projectile, just like his main attack. This one is potentially going to be better against if you're going against an assassin or a tank. Other than that, I don't think you're going to have a real use case for this one. Unlike the next one, Victor's super can be dragged 50% further and 20% faster. So as in drag, I didn't explain this before, but when you drag, your range is the same as this. But now that the star power would be added, it will add 50% onto this. So the range will still be 8 tiles to select, but your drag range will be now 12 tiles. And you'll be also going 20% faster, meaning that this would be instead of 1750, it'd be 2100 speed. So a lot faster. I see this one as potentially more useful. It could be easier to just drop the walls on top of enemies and just kill them. You could also use, I forgot to mention, you could also just use the super for just to move the map around. I mean, that's the whole point of it, was to set the stage. Yeah, you can use it to change the map around, maybe put more walls on their side so you can spawn trap them, or maybe, because these walls that get put here can't be removed, and also I forgot to mention, you can't put them in front of a Brawl Ball goal. Immunity does remove them if they're in front of a Brawl Ball goal. So now we've done the star powers. The next thing we've got to do is the hypercharge. The hypercharge is called stage fright. So what this hypercharge does essentially is that the super. Well, let's go over the buffs. So the buffs are about the 24% speed, 25% damage, 5% shield. Not a very strong shield for a brawler with his sort of class, but the most important thing though is the charge multiplier being 40%. That means if it's 40%, that means it takes 2.5 supers to get this hypercharge. What this hypercharge does, well, it gives you the stat buffs, but also for the super creates a. I'll zoom in here because it can be hard to read. The super creates a hologram wall which will fill all the empty gaps of the super. The hologram will only last for 3 seconds after drop. So I'll just show you what this would look like rather than just explain it. So instead of these walls being lifted up, you'll get extra walls put in. These are like hologram walls. So they'll cover the whole area of the 5x5 area, which means it'd be a lot easier to drop it on enemies, which makes it a lot stronger than you think. Right now we've gone through absolutely everything here. I'd like to show you one more thing. A person commented down wanted me to add pins, so I did add pins to this brawler, and I think they're pretty cool. I think they look better than the actual brawler itself, so yeah, I do like these pins. Let me guys know what you think of them. That's the good thing I like about this design. Is the pins are very easy to do. But yeah, they're the pins for the brawler. You got your neutral, you got your happy, you got your sad, angry, thumbs up, clap, love heart. I forgot what that one's called. Shock. And then you've got your special one, and you've got your hypercharge one. So yeah, so that's all for the pins I've put in. They're just basically your common pins, and plus a hypercharge pin and a special pin as well, which you get from your masteries, I'm guessing. Anyway, now that we've done all that, let's go over something I want to show you, and this is the ugly. So, well, I mean, this is the bad actually. It's not the ugly. This is the ugly, but this next bit's the bad. Anyway, I'm gonna show you here. I actually did this myself, and it doesn't sound very good, so forgive me. I did his voice lines. Alright, I did about 20 different voice lines on this guy, so it's gonna be ranging from all different types. Your normal voice lines. Anyway, I'll show you those, and yeah. Spawning. Let's roll the curtains. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I have returned. I'll show you real acting. Let's release some comedy. In the lead, I am perfection. Performance is key. I'll help you all watching this. Give me a round of applause. Receiving damage? That was just a scratch. A minor hiccup. Fool me once, shame on you. Ooh, tough crowd. Ah. Ooh, you're good at this. Defeating an enemy? You didn't read the script. Foolish of you to underestimate me. Aha, you buffoon. You're not good at acting. Should have performed better. Okay, and then defeat. So close, yet so far. That wasn't in the script. The show is over. That was anticlimactic. I played my part. We need to improve. Okay, and attack. Here, have a seat. Aha! Oh, you broke my chair. Aha, sit down. Take that, fool. Activating the super. Let's set the stage. Wham! Here is perfect. Whoops, I didn't mean to drop that. Watch out! I like it right here. What did you guys think about those voice lines? And if you like it, leave a comment down. Thanks so much for watching the video, and if you did like the concept, like the voice lines, liked the pins, and if you didn't like the brawler, you're the same as me, because I really just didn't like the design of him. I think it was just a bit, it was a bit lazy on my end, but to be honest, I had a bit of a busy week, so I was like, didn't know what to do. Anyway, so if you like it, comment down, and if something doesn't make sense, you can ask it in the comments, whatever. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. For subscribing, if you do. Anyway, thank you.